So now we're going to visit Python's environment called Code Sculptor. So you want to just open a window, use Safari. Make sure you use Safari. If you don't use Safari, you're going to see that you might run into some issues that you don't understand. It's best to use this environment out of Safari. So open up a Safari window and you just go to Code Sculptor. And this website is on the assignment page. Let me show you guys the assignment page real quick before I even go there. So if you go to our Algebra 2 page, the assignment is right here. It says Python Series Assignment. And it has a link. You can just press it and it'll go straight to Code Sculptor. It says exactly what to do. Here's the 4 problems you guys are going to be working on. Okay? So here we go. Here's Code Sculptor. The first thing you want to do is delete this junk because it's got some random program that like welcomes you to the thing. So I like to hit Command A and delete. So Command A and delete will give you a nice open window. It's now, the world is yours to create whatever you'd like. So definitely I encourage you to explore with this. I'm giving you one of the 3 ingredients that you need to create most programs, and then you can build basically anything that will do anything. In this class we're going to see this first ingredient called the for loop, and then we'll look at some other ingredients in those other classes, and it'll give you a little introduction to coding. So, going back to the 4 things we needed to do. What was the first thing we needed to do, guys? Create a list of indices, and we wanted to go 1 to 300 this time? So in Code Sculptor in Python, here's how you do that. There's this built-in function called range. So you type in range. And you can follow along with me or not, it's up to you. I think following along is a good idea. This will be on Moodle though. So you tell it where to start and where to end. So we wanted to go 1 to 300, okay? So the way to get Code Sculptor to run, yeah, Brittany? So Brittany remembers the one example we did the other day. Wonderful. So she already remembered that you have to go in Code Sculptor and go 1 more because it's not inclusive. Very nice. So very good. All right. So if you hit enter there, nothing happens. This window on the right-hand side is like the display control panel, like the window on your graphing calculator, for instance. If you just hit enter, nothing happens. Well, I haven't even run the program yet. What button do I have to press to run it? You might guess it. It's the play button. So I just played it and nothing happens still. Why? I have to tell it what to show us. So the function in pretty much all coding languages to do that is called print. There's more sophisticated versions sometimes, but I've got a print. And oh yeah, I need to assign this to something. We said it was the indices, right? So I'm going to call it indices. Now it's assigned, and so I want to print and have a look at what those indices are. Let's try that. Alright, it's looking good. But if you scroll it over, you can see that unless you scroll this guy like way over on the bottom, it's really hard to see if it goes far enough. So you can totally do that if you guys would like to. But if you remember last time I showed you a way to look at the very last index in a list. Does anybody remember what the last index in a list? How do I grab it? You take whatever you called your list. We called ours indices, if you spell it right. You put a bracket and you say what? What's the last element in the list? You say -1, and that counts backwards. So I'm going to hit clear and replay. How come it didn't print the last index in the list? Did I say print? No. So you can have it print pretty much anything you can imagine. So I really suggest playing around with that print function. There we go. If I print the last index, it is 300. So Brittany was spot on right there. Very good. Okay, we've got our indices. What did I say the second step to getting this done was? You guys have your notes? Use a loop. So it's called for in just about every language that exists. So you say, in Python, you say for, and you use one of our letters. Lindsay, which one do you want to use? N. She liked N. Okay, or she didn't like N earlier. So we're going to say for N in whatever you called your list. Indices was our list. So for n in indices, and then you put a colon. That's just part of the syntax. You got to put it or it'll give you an error. And it indents, and it says, in this loop, what do you want to do? Well, what did we want to do for our problem, guys? Well, that's the last step. Not yet. We first have to create the terms one at a time. Plug in each number to what? Oh, yes. So let's say you got to assign it again. So let's call it term, like I said on the board. So term equals 14 times. You can't just write n. You got to put times. And then we used n, so I'm going to say n. Squared in Python is kind of weird. You press 2 stars. That's squared. You can't use the caret. Most languages let you use the caret, but can't do it in Python. So 14n squared. And then minus, I like to put spaces in to make it nice and easy to read. 14n squared minus 2 times n. And we wanted plus 11. Right? Okay, so let's see what it does. I encourage you, after each step that you write, just run your program again and see what happens. That's always a good idea. Well, nothing else happened. How come? Because I didn't say print. What do you want to print then? Okay, let's print the terms and see if we can see what they actually are. Great. So these are the terms, each one. You can scroll through them, and I'd recommend going to the beginning. The first one was 23. If you plug in 1, I think you're going to get 23 first. You plug in 2, supposedly you get 63. You can play around with it and check. I really don't want to print all these, though. Because we didn't just want all the terms. What did we actually want to do ultimately, guys? Sum them up. So how are we going to sum them up? Where do you want me to put it, Jensen? Inside the loop, outside the loop, where?
Outside the loop. Like the loop, yeah, outside.
Okay, so you want me to say sum out here?
No, I'm like 6. Is that inside the loop? 6.
That's outside.
Okay.
So if you put it inside, it's indented?
Oh, okay.
Yeah? So he wanted me to put it here and say what? Sum equals what? How many terms are there, though? Well, we had 300, right? We just scrolled the list on a second ago. There's 300. So how do you get it to add all those together? Yeah, you could somehow store them in a list, right? But that would require some other ways to do this. I encourage you guys, play with this. Try to get it to work other ways. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. So Hannah was saying create a new list and then add up all the things in that list. That would be pretty... We'd need 3 more lines of code. But that definitely would work. Let me show you the easiest way. Just update your sum every time. So say sum equals the thing it was before, and then add on what you've got right now. Add on your current term. I think that's the best way to do this. Let's try it. It gave me an error. When you guys are doing this, you're going to see this red stuff a lot. Don't freak out. It's an error. And in fact, most of the time it will tell you a little bit about what to do to fix your problem. So my error says name sum is not defined. What's that mean? It's right there. It says what it is. What do you mean? So think about this. This says your sum is your sum plus what you've got, your term. The first time you do it, what's your sum the first time you do it? It doesn't exist. You've got to tell the computer what to start with. What do you guys think we should start with if we want to get the right answer? That would add an artificial 1, Mr. Strickland. We should start by saying the sum is nothing. Very good. So I'm going to put that outside my loop somewhere. Somewhere like this. That's called initializing. Initializing is a big important concept in programming. So now let's try it. Now it says, well, I start with 0 and then I add the first term. And then I take that and I add the next one into it, and then I take that and I add the next one into it. Well, it didn't print anything because I've got to print my final sum. You guys see how I printed this outside the loop? I printed it outside the loop because I want the end answer. If you print it inside the loop, it's going to print the sum every time, 300 times.
Oh, that's a nice song.
So there's the sum. Does it match what we got on the board with shortcuts? Well, it should, if we did them both right. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a second, and then I'm going to do one more problem, okay? So let's take a little break. I'll be around, see if you can get that to work. Okay, so now we want to do the problem that is the sum of the first 50 terms of I cubed minus 3i to the fifth. So I'm going to change this to 50, right guys? 51. Indeed, this is my checker. I guess I can see if it checks. And let's see. I don't have to change this from I to N. That's a judgment call. You use what letter you want. Maybe I do want to change it to I just to be consistent. Let's see. So then I've got to erase this line and do I star star to the third. That's I raised to the third minus 3 times I to the fifth. I think everything else is still going to work. So this is, once you get yours working, you're going to find this is like pretty darn easy to do on the computer like this. So I really recommend you playing around with it. Have it print different things. Create a loop that does something else. So for this one, it says we get negative, looks like 82 million or something like that. Does it make sense that we get a negative sum on this guy? I think it should. Why?
Because it's a minus.
Because the fifth power is bigger than
Fifth power's growing faster, right? So we're totally going to be subtracting out more every time, too. So we're going to get a large negative number. So that makes sense. We don't know if that's the right answer, though, until we check it. So let me show you guys how to save your work. So what I want you to do, and it says this back on the assignment page, the submission is you upload your file right here. I just want one file. So once you've got all yours working, just do them all in one file right here. You can start the next one. Label them nicely, though, at the top. Here's another key thing. If you use the pound symbol in Python, it is a comment. The computer will not do anything with it. It's just a label. So I'm going to say program created by myself on the 11th of February. So that's what I want you guys to do. Just get yourself a name in there. If you want to include more information for the user of this program, by all means include some more information, like about how you checked your answer or something like that. And then between each one, I want you guys to put a line of comments so that you can clearly see that first one was problem 1. So we'll say this guy is problem 1. And then we're going to start problem 2. And when I open this, I should be able to copy and paste your work into here, and it should just run, and I should be able to see all of your answers. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm looking for ideally. Now, if I don't get that, I'll try to troubleshoot your code for a second, but I'm not going to sit there all day if it doesn't work. Okay, I will look at it conceptually, but I think that you guys aren't doing anything real creative here. You're just kind of regurgitating what I showed you how to do, unless you really want to get creative. That'd be neat. Okay? So that's how you do it. Where do you save this, though? How do you save it into a file? There's different ways. Here's how I want you to do it. It's easy. Hit Command A. That'll get everything in there. Hit Command C or copy. Go to your lookout bar. Type in text, and it'll say text edit. That's the first thing that comes up. It'll basically bring up Apple's version of a blank notepad. And then just say Command V. And if you have all your programs problems there, it'll paste them all in. You save that, you upload that to Moodle. And that's all you've got to do. So use text edit, it's real simple. That's all you have to do. Carson, yes.
We use like a Word document.
Please use text edit, because if you use Word, it'll reformat it, and then I can't just copy and paste it back in. Good question.
Can you just use the little notepad app right down at the bottom?
If you want to test it and see if it copies and pastes after that, that's fine, Wyatt, but it needs to copy and paste afterwards. I just use text edit. Text edit's really easy to use, so. Other questions? Okay.
Yeah, how do you want us to?
Just file save. So file save, I'd save mine to my desktop. I'd say McGee Python assignment. If you want to do it like that, just say Brittany M Python assignment. Jacob V Python assignment. That's fine. As long as I can figure out who you are, I'm good. So, other questions? So you guys just have 4 questions to do. I think the longer part's going to be checking them with the shortcut formulas. So let me see if I can do that really fast before we leave. I bet the bell's going to catch us, but that's all right. The bell catches us. That's the way it goes. So I'm going to go back to my shortcuts.